fece Pain de Quejo cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano, Roquefort Brie de Meaux, and Montego, River Blue and Gouda. Asiago, Wensleydale, and Roquefort, Reblochon, Halloumi, Feta, Gorgonzola cheese. Oh, Monterey Jack, Fidulata, Pecorino, Swiss Gruyere. I love a fece Pain de Quejo cheese.
Cheese making in Brazil dates back more than 500 years to the earliest days of European settlement. But despite its long history, there are very few examples of artisan traditional cheese found anywhere outside of this vast country. So I've travelled here to find out more about them. Brazil is the 5th largest country in the world, and its borders extend over almost half of the South American continent. Home to a rich ethnic mix of almost 200 million people and an incredibly diverse ecosystem, its pristine rainforests represent the greatest collection of plant and animal species on Earth. This is the only Latin American country to derive its language and culture from Portugal. And Brazilians are well known for their legendary obsession with football, dancing and music, and of course fun, particularly at Carnival time. One of the many legacies of Brazil's rich colonial history is cheese, which was first made here in 1597. I plan to visit the highlands in the south of the country, where most traditional cheese is made. And I'm also hoping to uncover more about a surreal story that involves clandestine cheese making, mysterious cheese dealers, and illicit cheeses, which are smuggled into the big city markets. My first stop is the capital of Minas Gerais, a subtropical region slightly larger than France, which produces almost 30% of all the cow's milk in Brazil. Well known for its rich mines and mineral wealth, the region is also the home of a traditional Brazilian cheese known as Canastra, which takes its name from a beautiful plateau in the west of the state. To sample my first Brazilian cheeses, I'm heading into the centre of town to visit the famous Mercado Central marketplace. This extraordinary market at the centre of Belo Horizonte lies at the heart of cheesemaking in the Minas region. It sells more than 3,000 units of Canastra cheese every day. But what makes it quite unique is that all that cheese is considered illegal under Brazilian law because it's made from raw milk. National federal food regulations ban the sale of any cheese made from raw milk less than 60 days old half a century ago. But this is Brazil, and it's no secret that almost all the traditional raw milk cheese being sold in the market is just a few weeks old. The central market is an important showcase for the agricultural produce of the region and has very significant economic implications for the local farmers. So there's a practical agreement between the traders and the municipal authorities to ensure there is no interference in the sale of raw milk cheese. The local cheeses are named according to where they come from and vary in quality, flavour, age and size. The finest is called Serra da Canastra, and to help me understand more about it and its close cousins, I've arranged to meet the head of an organisation whose vision is to change the current regulations and ensure the future of Brazil's traditional raw milk cheeses. Whoa, so this is the cheese, the famous cheese.
The famous Canastra from Minas state.
How old is it?
This is 2-3 days old.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have the older here, the yellow one.
Yeah.
This is a week old. A week, 10 days old.
Right.
Quer experimentar o queijo?
Yes,
You wanna
please.
try?
Yeah, that would be great.
Queijo meia cura,
Sweet.
esse aqui, ó.
Salty,
Today.
fresh.
It's called half
Beautiful.
cured. All the whites called half cured.
So that'll be 3 to 10 days old, yeah?
Yes.
And then this one here,
Qual a idade dele?
Esse é seu, esse aqui.
15 days.
15 days. So this is a 15-day one.
15
And
days.
do you eat the rind?
Esse é leite cru.
You do eat the rind.
Yes. Pode comer a casca?
Pode.
That's really nice. I think I prefer that one.
Diz que gosta.
Really, really good. I'm quite amazed to learn that an incredible 100,000 raw milk Canastra cheeses are produced in the region every day by approximately 10,000 small family farms. To put this figure into perspective, that is almost as much raw milk cheese as produced in France daily. After our market shop, Leanne has arranged a special flight to visit 2 small dairy farms high in the Canastra ranges, which peak at 1,500 metres.
We are going 150 miles west, or 280 kilometers. It has a terroir climate that allows us to make the best cheese in the country. In my opinion, the best in the world.
Yeah.
Because I'm from this region.
So in this state, you can make the cheese, but you're not allowed to sell it. But when it gets to places like Sao Paulo, etc., how do they get it out of the state?
In Sao Paulo, we don't have the freedom we have here, like you saw in the market. People have to sell the cheese in the suburbs, in the outbacks where there's less prohibition, less fiscals.
Like bootleg cheese.
Yeah.
So it's smuggled across the border.
Sometimes they have to bribe the police, not only because it's illegal, but because it's illegal they don't pay taxes. Then there's an additional problem. The cheese shouldn't have to pay taxes in our opinion, but if it's legalized, it still has the tax problem.
The first dairy I visit makes a large cheese they call Canastrael. They claim it's based on the original Portuguese recipe, but it's much larger than the conventional Canastra I've seen in the market.
Nós fabricamos aqui 2 tipos de queijo, basicamente. O tradicional.
We make 2 types of cheese here. Basically, the traditional Canastra, that weighs 1 kilo, and the Real Canastra, that weighs 6 kilos, and is a cheese that my Portuguese ancestors, they brought the technology, this culture. This identity was already practically dead. And we revived this technique of how to make this cheese that my ancestors made, this big piece of cheese. This piece, the Real Canastra, the big Canastra, that is a specific period of lactation of the cow, for you to milk the cow to make this cheese. The small one, the traditional Canastra, it's made from any milk from the cow, but not the Real Canastra.
É feito com qualquer leite da vaca. O Canastra Real, não.
Okay. With different production techniques in play, I was keen to experience the flavour of the finished cheese. Look at that colour. Beautiful yellow colour. And holes. Sweet. Not salty at all.
It has no salt, very little salt.
Very nice.
And the eyes or holes in the cheese grow and become huge.
So the hot temperature of the climate here encourages the propionic bacteria in the milk to blow up into bigger holes. And what he's telling me here is that this cheese is really just a bit young. But there's no refrigeration in here. Quite extraordinary. We're in a tropical climate, and this cheese is just maturing here on wooden racks. Amazing. Never thought I'd see this. Really, really nice cheese.
The French naturalist Auguste Saint-Hilaire, who traveled all around Brazil. He came here in 1812, and he climbed the Canastra range and said that it was amazing that even being to the Alps, here he could see farther.
Really?
Yes, that's what he wrote, that he has never seen so far in his life.
It was in the late 17th century that European explorers discovered rich deposits of gold and diamonds in the Minas region. But today, the real treasure to be found here is the local cheese and a deliciously chewy cheese bread called Pain de Quejo. And I was promised a first-hand demonstration on how it's made the traditional old-fashioned way. Right, in that pan, we've got a kilo of tapioca flour here, a cup of soy oil, and a cup of fresh milk, straight from the cow, of course. And that was just put onto the stove, watched very carefully so it didn't boil over, and added to this. So this is the traditional Pain de Quejo, which you find all over this part of Brazil. 6 eggs, straight from the chickens. Queijo canastra. And like this. Bit more milk. Yeah, go on. It's really sticky. I don't know if I'm going to ever get this off.
Tá grudando muito, né?
Tá, e ele tá com as duas mãos, né? E o Mar só com uma.
She just uses one hand.
Põe força.
Now you tell me.
Ué, só com uma. Você
Now
vai
you
cá,
tell me.
duas pode, ó.
Well, it's quicker with 2 hands.
É, segredo.
You might not get anything at the end of it because it'll all be stuck to your hands. Can I wash my hands now? Yeah? Is that right?
Não,
No.
senão eles...
You can tell I've done it before. So people come from all over Brazil to try your cheesy bread, right?
Pessoas vêm de todo o Brasil para comer esse pão de queijo.
Uai, eles vêm e ficam querendo, mas nem todo dia tem pão de queijo, não, né?
They come but every day there's not always, not always ready for them.
Aí agora essa aí também não pode pôr mais, não, são eles emendas. Deixa eu pôr essa aqui lá de novo.
A bit more, okay. In the oven. What a fantastic spread. Here they come. Look, whoa, look at those. Amazing. Hey, amazing. They look fantastic.
Agora você serve.
Serve yourself. Yeah.
I will do, I will do. This is fantastic. What a spread. Tell me what this is.
It's made with grated green corn, and there's different names. Everyone calls it by something different, but here they call it mingau verde. Yeah.
And I know what this is. Guava paste. And this is that, like a condensed milk.
Doce de leite. Yeah.
Doce de leite, and that, of course, the cheese.
O que é isso? Manga?
Esse aqui é mamão.
Ah, mamão, it's papaya com
leite.
Com leite.
Oh,
Milk
papaya.
and sugar.
Really hot. Yeah?
Quente.
What do you think?
Really good. Can't get any better than this for pão de queijo.
I think it's been specially made with 2 hands and an extra 3rd hand for a little bit of help.
Especial porque foi feito com 2 mãos e mais uma terceira.
Foi feita com 3 mãos, por isso que ficou especial.
Thank you. Really lovely.
Maravilhoso.
Obrigado. Obrigado.
De nada.
It's estimated that more than 40% of all the artisanal cheese produced in Brazil is sold on the black market. And on the small family farms in Minas, the production of Canastra cheese clearly represents an essential part of everyday life. It takes 10 litres of milk to make each of these cheeses. And this farm keeps just 30 cows, which produces 12 cheeses a day. Making cheese involves the whole family, and begins early every morning with milking. The warm raw milk is mixed with a starter and animal rennet, ironically provided by the authorities. After a thorough clean of the stainless steel bench, the fresh curds are gently placed into cloth bags and squeezed to remove the milky whey. The bags are then pushed into hoops where they will be left to drain and harden overnight. The next morning, the cloth is removed and the young cheeses are salted to add flavour and encourage a rind to form. The cheeses are then ripened on wooden shelves in the naturally humid conditions of the curing room, without any refrigeration for up to a week. The farm gets a regular visit from a local cheese dealer, who first inspects the cheese for quality and then arranges to transport it back to a warehouse for distribution to the central market or further interstate. The small town of Sao Roque, Minas is recognised as the main centre of the region's clandestine operations, and it boasts at least half a dozen cheese consortiums responsible for smuggling bootleg cheese across the borders. Whoa, look at this. This warehouse holds thousands of wheels of freshly cured cheese, collected from surrounding farms up to 300 kilometres away. The cheese is held here for a few days before beginning a risky journey across the border in a fleet of old trucks. Each truck carries 5 tons of cheese and, to avoid detection, travels only at night along remote, twisting mountain roads. The penalty if caught by the police is jail, a large fine, and seizure of the cheese and the truck. The owner of this warehouse was recently jailed for 3 days when all his cheese was confiscated when he was caught at the border crossing into the state of Sao Paulo to sell his usual weekly run of clandestine cheese. You might think this place looks like small business, but in fact it moves more than 10,000 cheeses a week. The cheeses stored here will be smuggled to the big, lucrative markets of Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. It's good business. By the time the cheese arrives in the cities, it's doubled in value, and the price doubles again when it's sold door to door. According to one of the cheese dealers I meet later in town, this bootleg cheese trade is not going to stop anytime soon. Despite the high stakes, he tells me that rural families really have no alternative but to sell their cheese. The cash is essential for food, for medicine, and even mobile phone refills, because in these very isolated areas, they are the only means of communication. One of the most unusual traditional cheeses made in Brazil comes from here in the Campos Altos region. It's produced for just 6 months a year by around 400 farms. And what makes it so special is the type of cow the milk comes from. The Campos Altos region in the far west of the state of Minas Gerais lies at an elevation of 1,050 metres and is well known for its remote and very beautiful landscape. In this region, traditional agriculture revolves around cattle, and the farm I'm visiting is owned by a family of gauchos. The gaucho cowboys traditionally lived by herding cattle and carried the famous facon knife and a mate cup with its distinctive bombilla straw. This is a really wonderful scene. It's first thing in the morning, and these are beef cattle being milked. And I've just had fresh milk from the cow put into my coffee, a first. The cattle on this farm are highly valued for their meat, and are a mixed herd with some Franquero and some Juquita longhorns. Each cow is carefully milked, and the warm raw milk is immediately poured into a barrel through a cheesecloth filled with a handful of coarse salt. This is the first time I've seen this ingenious and efficient way of salting a cheese. Once all the cows have been milked, animal rennet is added to the fresh raw milk in the barrel before it's covered with a lid and a cloth to help keep it warm, whilst it sets into curds and whey over the next 40 minutes. Armed with a freshly boiled kettle, Mrs. Lopez then proceeds to gently stir the curds whilst adding hot water. The curds and whey are then scooped into a traditional wooden draining bench lined with cheesecloth. They are then wrapped in the cloth and gently squeezed for 10 minutes to help remove any excess whey. After breaking up the curds by hand, they are once again wrapped and placed into a traditional square wooden mould and left to drain under weights.
Well, it doesn't get any more traditional than that. The cheese will sit under the weight for the next 5.5 hours. It'll then be taken out of the mould and cut into two.
I learned that Serrano cheese was originally made in large square blocks. These days, it's much more common for this cheese to be made in smaller sizes and matured for just a few weeks, which means it's usually sold illegally, just like its cousin Canastra. The local cattlemen, or troperos as they're known, used to carry their cheeses in large leather saddlebags known as brujas. These were slung in pairs across the back of the horse or donkey.
So here I am, taking my cheese to lunch. Behind me, I've got the cheese and the local saddlebags on the mule, and we've been promised a fantastic local barbecue. Come on.
The troperos are famous for churrasco or grilled meat barbecues, which use a variety of meats cooked on open fire with spits or skewers planted into the earth. My hosts have been busy all morning building a fire, and we arrived just in time to enjoy some of the pre-meal festivities. In addition to our cheese, the cowboys collected up some candelabra nuts from the local pine trees to roast on the fire. A popular staple in these parts, apparently.
Muito obrigado, senhores.
After a magnificent serenading by the cowboys, it was time to eat. And there was plenty to choose from, with no shortage of meats to try. I asked my hosts about the history of this important cheese.
The history of this cheese, it came from Portugal, with my Portuguese family, called Pereira Lopes. So in my family, this tradition comes from my great-grandfather. We have inherited the know-how to produce the artisanal Serrano cheese. The formula for making the cheese has always been done this way in my family. And using the traditional woods allows the cheese to breathe, and the cheese is much tastier that way.
It has a beautiful, creamy, rich, slightly piquante flavour with the hints of the grass and the pasture. It's a beautiful flavour.
Yes, the taste of the cheese has the characteristics of the native pasture of this region. It's the native pasture that gives the unique taste to the cheese, helps to differentiate it. Each region, each pasture is different. In winter, for example, when we start to cultivate the fields, there is another type of grass that's changed the taste of both milk and the cheese.
Serrano cheese is an important part of the heritage of this region. But whilst it's considered by authorities to be illegal if sold young, its future as a traditional Brazilian benchmark sadly remains uncertain. Traditional cheesemaking in Brazil faces a very uncertain future. The hard work and commitment of Leanne and her organisation has helped to highlight the dilemma facing Brazil's clandestine cheesemakers and federal authorities. Just how to regulate the safe production of traditional raw milk cheese without undermining the livelihood of thousands of small family farms is certainly going to be a challenge for all involved. But after this visit, I now understand why it's a legacy well worth preserving.
Cheese Slice Brazil! Cheese Slice Brazil!
Come on, Trigger. Cheese Slice in Brazil. Brazil.
Right, there's a television camera behind me and they're pointing.
Okay, it's like all the fun of the fair.
Hello.